is what we're supposed to be about. That's what our viewers want. But then we hit certain topics and we see the truth and we say, well, we can't say the truth because it might upset this or that faction, this or that person in power. We have this kind of fake definition of impartiality, which says we must always say X says something, Y says something, even if Y is lying. And I think we get to a point where we need to call out lies.
Welcome to Veridical. Mehdi Hassan just launched Zeteo UK, his independent media platform, and sat down with Sky News to explain why. What followed was one of the most direct critiques of mainstream media seen on a major broadcaster in years. He challenged how the media covers Gaza, Iran, the far right, and political lies. We break it down.
There's a gap. It's what you're not doing well that we want to do better.
What are we not doing well?
I think, for example, when it comes to the rise of the far right and fascism and authoritarianism across the Western world that we're seeing right now, we've seen quote-unquote liberal media do a very softball approach, play both sides journalism on issues that are not really both sides, like racism. I think the genocide in Gaza.
Mehdi is making a structural argument about how journalism works. Both sides' coverage sounds fair in theory, but it breaks down when one side is factually wrong. Presenting a climate denier as equal to a climate scientist is not balance, it is false equivalence. Multiple media studies, including research from Goldsmiths College and NewsGuard, have documented measurable differences in how British broadcasters cover Ukraine versus Gaza in language, guest selection, and framing. These are not opinions. They are counted and published numbers.
Definition of impartiality, which says we must always say X says something, Y says something, even if Y is lying. And I think we get to a point where we need to call out lies. I think we've seen that in, for example, in the coverage of Gaza. We've seen that in the rise of Trump. In the United States, the media has had to really struggle with a president who lies every day, lies in every breath. Everyone knows it, everyone can see it. But, oh, you can't say lie about a politician. You must immediately, balance what they've just said. And I think
this is the core tension in modern journalism. Calling something a lie requires a journalist to make a judgment, and broadcasters have historically avoided that because it appears partisan. But researchers at MIT Media Lab have shown that false information spreads 6 times faster online than accurate information. When media treats a documented lie as just another opinion to be balanced, it becomes part of the amplification machine. More people now get their news from independent media than national networks in the US, and this shift is largely driven by audiences who feel mainstream media is not being straight with them.
But if you take the Henry Noak story, for example, a horrific story, what happened to him shouldn't have happened. And I hope there's investigation, I hope there's accountability, especially the police side of things. But for example, allowing the right to turn that into an immigration story when the guy who killed him was born in the UK, his father was born in the UK, but you're now seeing...
This is one of the clearest examples of how a narrative can completely detach from facts and still dominate media coverage. The Henry Noak case was immediately framed by right-wing politicians and media as an immigration crisis story. The documented facts that the perpetrator was born in the UK did not stop that narrative from spreading. When mainstream broadcasters allowed that framing to be repeated without immediate correction, they became part of the misinformation cycle regardless of their intentions. This is exactly the pattern Mehdi is arguing needs to change.
If you look at the polls, he's very unpopular. He's more unpopular now, according to some polls, than the day after January the 6th, which was his previous low point. He's the most unpopular president at this point in a second term. And normally midterms do reflect a backlash against the party in power. I think the difference this year is, A, in general, American politics is crazy. It's very hard to kind of apply normal rules. So, yes, anything is possible. I don't do predictions anymore since Brexit and Trump term 1.
Gerrymandering is one of the least covered but most consequential issues in American politics. Unlike the UK, Canada, or France, where independent bodies draw electoral boundaries, in the US politicians draw their own districts. The result is that a party can lose the national popular vote and still control Congress because the districts are drawn to guarantee safe seats. Combined with reported plans to station immigration enforcement agents at polling locations, Mehdi's concern about the state of American democracy is shared by multiple election integrity organizations and legal scholars heading into the midterms. What makes this interview worth studying is that Mehdi Hassan is not just criticizing the media from the outside. He built his career inside at MSNBC, Al Jazeera, Sky News. His argument is not that mainstream journalists are bad people. It is that the system they operate in rewards false balance over truth. That distinction matters, and it is exactly the standard Veridical holds itself to. Subscribe for breakdowns like this every week. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is mainstream media failing us? See you Sunday.